Sudan is in a state of war, right? Civil war, actually. So it's a civil war, it's a massive conflict, it's a massive crisis that is happening. And as I said at the start, this was something that was unbeknownst to me, right? I wasn't very much aware of what was going on in Sudan. Obviously, I had friends who would bring it up from time to time, but it was only until a good friend of mine spoke to me about it and briefly explained what was going on. And I was horrified. So I researched it, I had a look at what was going on, and why don't we go through a quick timeline, because a lot of people say, oh, so this war was, so it started, what, April 2023? No, it actually started a lot earlier than that. We have a overthrowing of the president, Omar al-Bashir, right? So he is overthrown in 2019 by two armies, right? So you have the Sudanese Armed Forces, the SAF. They're sort of the main military and army in Sudan. And they work together with the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, to overthrow this president, this long-running president, who was very unpopular, who was accused himself of very atrocious accusations, including genocide, including terrible things, right? So this wasn't, I'm not saying this was a good guy, but he was overthrown, right? And then in 2021, there was a military coup, another overthrowing of the then government. And then you had the Rapid Support Forces and the Sudanese Armed Forces come together as essentially the governing force of Sudan. It was the Sudanese Armed Forces, al-Burhan, who was sort of the president, if you like, a de facto president of Sudan at that point after the military coup. And then you have Hemedti, who was the sort of, deputy president under al-Burhan of the Sudanese, of the Rapid Support Forces, right? So this happens in 2021. It was very unpopular, right? So they overthrow Omar al-Bashir in 2019. That is something that I believe was quite popular. People in the streets were calling for civilian rule now. And obviously a military coup happens in 2021. These are now the sort of leaders of Sudan, these generals of the army, of the two armies, respected armies. And the citizens do not like that, right? So they do not like that. They're not a fan of that. And the Rapid Support Forces leader, Hemedti, did not, want to be associated with al-Burhan. He did not want to be associated with him. And he saw that he was becoming very unpopular. So this is where he started to pretend and started to act like he's all for democracy, right? He's all for civilian rule. He's sort of this embodiment of democracy. And they start to, instead of being allies, right, they start to become enemies, right? This is in 2021. Tensions grew. Accusations are being thrown around. And then in 2023, after some failed negotiations, where the Sudanese Armed Forces wanted to bring the Rapid Support Forces, fold them into one army, right? Hemedti did not like that, right? He was saying, this is terrible. This is going to, I'm going to lose a lot of my power that I have now currently. It's going to weaken the military prowess of the Rapid Support Forces. It's going to remove our military and, our autonomy, frankly, of the army. So he's very much against that, right? al-Burhan wants it to happen in the next year or two, whereas the other guy, he wants it to happen in 10 years or more, right? Because he wants to remain the sort of powerful guy, have all this power and all this, and if it's folded into one, he has no power anymore. So he's very much against that, right? He doesn't like that. Those negotiations failed, and then in April of 2023, there is some strikes that happen on a Sudanese armed forces base, and then they're just at each other from then till now. Now, from then till now, what we've saw, right, this is the worst part, right, is we've saw, and this is a conservative figure, but we've saw around 150,000 deaths from April 2023 to now. 150,000 deaths. We have saw 500,000 dead as an indirect result to this war because of malnutrition and that sort of stuff. Disgusting. And we have saw millions displaced, millions of refugees as a result of this war. And frankly, it's a genocide, is what people are calling it. This rapid support forces have been seen killing innocent civilians, innocent men, innocent women, innocent children, non-combatants, right? And this is what I wanted to discuss, is that what have we become as an ummah, right? We have become a shell of our former selves, of our glory days, of our golden age, the Islamic golden age, how we used to fight, right, with integrity and with ethics and with morality. And now, right, we are killing non-combatants. This is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam completely prohibited this. He completely prohibited the killing of non-combatants. He completely outlawed all of this unethical garbage that's going on, that we're seeing, right? He prohibited all of this. You must have the correct niyyah in fighting, right? In war, in a state of war, the correct intention. And yet, what are we fighting for today? We are fighting for human desire. We are fighting for not Islamic reasons, but political and economical reasons, right? These are not reasons to fight, okay? These are not just reasons to fight. There's no justice going on here. If anything, there's injustice that's going on, right? The Rapid Support Forces, Hemedti, has been accused of, very much contributing a lot more to the death toll than the Sudanese armed forces. Some even saying they're paid by the UAE. I'm not sure whether that's credible. But what I will say for sure is that Hemedti is not, coming to, wanting to come to Sudan and bring the Sharia or bring morality or bring Islam, right? All he wants to do is make sure he's the only individual with power on Sudanese soil, right? It's disgusting, right? It is absolutely terrible. He's no better than a Netanyahu. He is no better. We talk about Palestine. It's not about comparing it. It's not about saying one's inconsequential and one is more consequential. Lives are at stake, just like I said last week. Lives are at stake. Just like lives were at stake in Palestine, lives are at stake here, okay? And 70,000 have been killed in Palestine since the October the 7th attacks. 70,000. We're looking at 150,000 in Sudan, and that's a conservative estimate. Some say a lot more. 500,000 due to malnutrition, right? This is disgraceful. This is terrible. Why are they dying over malnutrition? They are dying over malnutrition because these guys have no care for livestock, for resources. The Prophet completely prohibited this because there are many people who depend on these resources and they are being destroyed through heinous acts. Okay? What would the Prophet think? And it goes back to Zohran as well. What would the Prophet think of a guy like Zohran? Do you think he would approve of someone like that? And this is why I must, I can't be a fan of someone like Zohran. And what we're seeing in Sudan, we must condemn also. And what we're seeing in Gaza, we must condemn. It's terrible times, I must say.